NFL Spotlight is back after a mini break, and boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about. NFL training camps are opening for all 32 teams. Every single team will be in camp this week. We have extension news. We have absolute mayhem with the NFLPA. We're going to talk about all of it here today. NFL Spotlight starts now. Welcome in. It is the Monday, July 21 edition of the NFL Spotlight Show. I am your host, Ari Meirov. Does it feel so good to say that we are back? No more breaks here on the show. Football is basically back here. We're going to have a preseason game coming up in a little bit over a week, and we have every single team back at training camp here by Tuesday around the NFL. On the back end of today's show, we're going to be announcing our Tuesday Spotlight Guest of the Week. We're back with those as well. I'll tease it right now. We have an offensive coordinator coming on the show tomorrow, but stay tuned here on the back end for more. Let me bring in my good friend Ben Allen. Ben, it's great to see you, my friend. How's everything going?
That's good, Ari. Yeah, I mean, we took our break. We've seen each other quite a bit, though, as we've been knocking out Spotlight guest recordings. Both you and I got to go on Check the Mic. We talked about some holdouts that have already probably going to be scratched with guys like TJ Watt saying, hey, new contract extension. You'll see me showing up. But one thing we haven't gotten a chance to talk about, and it was something you and I went back and forth on, should we do live coverage? Should we not do live coverage for it? Is everything going on with the NFLPA? Because I think it is safe to say it is a mess. Executive Director Lloyd Howell Jr. has resigned from his post, and as of Sunday, Chief Strategy Officer and former Browns offensive lineman J.C. Tretter has joined him. While the reasons Tretter is stepping down may be more than just he didn't have interest in being the executive director, I guess we'll find that out later, Howell's reasons seem to be a lot more clear, as there have been conflicts of interest reported, expensing strip club trips. It's easier to recognize why he might be gone. So I don't really have to say it, but it's a big mess. I don't think things are going to be resolved with just one hiring of a new executive director. So where does the union go next with trying to figure out how they can fix this whole big mess?
I've been trying to weather the storm over here over these last week and a half while we were away, and tweeting and seeing the reaction from fans who are still not in full football mode yet. And I've really gathered that a lot of people care about this, and they should, because this is kind of the future of the NFL and the direction of where this game is going to be. Because I know it's 4 or 5 years away, but there's going to be a new CBA coming up. There's this entire 18th game element about it as well. And the people who will be negotiating against the owners and Roger Goodell essentially is going to be these people who are all now leaving their positions. And you kind of mentioned why. And let me just say this right now. The NFL, the owners, Roger Goodell, they've been having strategic meetings. How are we going to move forward? What are we going to want when those negotiations are going to ramp up? The NFLPA essentially is going to reset right now, which is not great news for players. But let's just go through some of it over here just to get everyone caught up in case you're not fully involved in all of this. Pablo Torre, Mike Florio, ESPN, Don Vanetta, Kalen Keller, they've been doing a tremendous job reporting on all of this. But it all started with that 61-page document of collusion, which the NFL essentially won the case, but there was the holy grail of evidence there that NFL owners and Roger Goodell and Jeff Pash all encouraged not to have fully guaranteed deals anymore in the NFL. And there was a very, very big question as to why on earth did the NFLPA and Lloyd Howell and that entire crew not want it to become public? Why did they hide it from their players? Why did they hide it from everybody? Because this is exactly the evidence that they've been saying for a long time. They actually had it in front of them. They hid it. On top of it, that was all Lloyd Howell. There was, of course, this insane conflict of interest that Lloyd Howell had, which when players and agents found out about, they lost their minds, which he essentially had a part-time role with a private equity fund, which is approved by NFL owners to buy a stake in teams, which is just insane to think about. There's such a small group of those type of situations, and Lloyd Howell was part of that group. It is a crazy conflict of interest which he had. You also mentioned the filing of the expense reports for 2 strip club visits using the NFLPA's money. There was an involvement in a sexual discrimination and retaliation lawsuit back in 2011 while he was working at Booz Allen. There's been a lot of stuff going on with him. He resigned. And then the JC Treader element, which he resigned on Sunday, and he told that to CBS Sports, and he tried to explain why he's resigning and he is not part of the problem. I mean, everyone is trying to bully him, but there has been a lot of stuff with JC Treader as well. In that 61 page document, he literally badmouthed Russell Wilson, who is a player. If you are, one of the main voices at the NFLPA, the last thing you should be doing is bad mouthing one of your own players, which he essentially did. He tried to explain why he did that, but still not a good look. He also had an entire case opened up because of what he said on a podcast about a year ago about players faking an injury, which the NFL actually won that case. And again, that was also hid from the public. So JC Treader, a lot of people around the NFL essentially believe he was very connected to Lloyd Howell, even though he tried to distance himself on Sunday when he officially resigned. But like I said before, the bigger impact over here is the collective bargaining element and the fact that there will be negotiations here about many different aspects, the pie about how much players are going to get, the salary cap, benefits, and of course the element of an 18th game and the future of the NFL. The last thing, of course, anybody wants is a lockout. And that's something that, if there is no resolution over here, there could be potential where it's trending that way, or the players are just going to have possibly a not so great deal, which of course is a big win for owners here when it comes to the NFL. There were some positives from JC Treader and Lloyd Howell. I will want to say that the NFLPA report cards, which they started, was an outstanding thing. They started that there. As a result, a lot of owners felt shamed and they were essentially bullied into making improvements to their organization and their facilities and stuff like that. But the bigger picture here is the NFLPA is resetting. They're going to have a new interim executive director here as soon as today, likely tomorrow here on Tuesday. And I'll just say this, there are so many players around the NFL who are shocked, who are catching up to all of this. And we actually had a player union rep. Each team has a rep for the NFLPA, 32 of them. And one of them was actually supposed to come here on this show to be spotlighted. Eventually, it was canceled because, as he told us, he has to figure out what the heck is going on with the PA before he does any media interviews. So there's a lot of chaos and mayhem going on right now within the PA as they try to figure this out.
So we touched on a little bit of Treader. He was somebody that a lot of people saw as potentially a candidate to step into that executive director role. Became very quickly recognized that beyond just his maybe lack of interest, that all the other reports would be something that would prevent him from really being a candidate for that. But who are the guys that are going to be considered, the guys and gals for that matter, that are going to be looked at as potential candidates for this role now that the dust is starting to settle a little bit more as to who could be the person there?
They're not going to hire an immediate executive director. They're going to have an interim guy just to take them forward over here for the next 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it is. A former NFL linebacker, Don Davis, who has been with the PA for over a decade. He's a name out there. Dominique Foxworth, who many know from ESPN, a very, very somebody who's very involved with the PA and was the president once upon a time. There's been some rumblings he could be involved in all of this. There's a couple of other names as well. But those are some of the interim guys right now. The one thing that I will say is that the last time they were looking for a new executive director, which was replacing DeMar Smith, who some people liked, some people didn't like. He was someone who always clashed with Roger Goodell. And of course, he did 2 new CBAs from the 2011 one, which was a very dicey one, and then 2020, which was an extremely close vote. It was nearly 50-50, just barely got it over. That's when a lot of players basically were like, all right, let's get somebody new over here. When it was time to find somebody new, JC Treader, who kind of led the entire process, they had a very, very non-transparent one. Like nobody knew what was flying, whether it was I mean, they didn't want the media to know, but a lot of players also were not aware of who are the candidates, who are these people. It was very, very tight to the vest. There were non-disclosure agreements which were signed to make sure nobody finds out about it. I would imagine this next one will not be like that, but there are just so many ramifications to this of the air and who that next person will be. I've heard from a couple of agents who've said you should be looking for somebody who is a former player at a former player plus a lawyer type. But when you look at the rank and file of the NFL, it's not necessarily like some of these other sports, because a lot of the players who are voting here, they don't necessarily look into the future and care about that as much. The NFL player life cycle is 2 to 3 years for the most part. And these guys, we always talk about the star players, but a lot of these players are on minimum contracts and not making much. So the idea of a lockout in their heads and securing the future for the future of football for other players does not matter to them. And that's always been such a hard balance for the PA. That's why being an executive director is such a difficult job, because you obviously have some of the big voices there. And Aaron Rodgers has been one guy who has been very vocal about all this stuff. But then you have those hundreds upon hundreds of players who are bottom of the roster guys and are truly year to year. They're just looking to make their $800,000 to $1.5 million, whatever it is, and move forward. They don't care about all these little topics over here that they're always fighting about. And that's why it is so difficult to move forward. And that's why it's also the owners have such an advantage when it comes to CBA negotiations, because they know the last thing most of these players are going to do is agree to a lockout and miss on paychecks. And that's why it's such a difficult job to have. So whoever ends up having it, I really hope it's going to be more of a transparent process and more of these players actually follow the story, because all the reporting that's been going on over here over the last couple of weeks, I wonder how many players are actually aware of what's flying. When the report came out on Saturday that JC Treader had a real shot of becoming the interim, I was surprised by that, because are you following the reporting? If the reporting is accurate, and I have no doubt about it that it is, JC Treader essentially is connected to Lloyd Howell. So why on earth would you take somebody who's part of that as well? You should be looking for a whole new stratosphere over here and moving forward. So there's a lot to get to over here, but those are some of the names right now who are being considered for the interim, which again, we can find out today or tomorrow.
So it's kind of an interesting thought to put it into this perspective, because obviously NFLPA, player union, this, that, and the other, but you can't have the NFL without the players. What do you think Roger Goodell and the owners are taking out of all this? Because even though obviously there's some combating between the two sides, but you can't really have one without the other. So what are they making of this situation? Because we had the whole collusion aspect of this, where that became one of the things that you discussed, like why was the NFLPA not trying to bring that to public? Obviously, they ended up not winning it, so it didn't really matter from that perspective. But how are they looking at this situation?
The collusion case, for people who don't know, was not done by Lloyd Howell. That was done by DeMaurice Smith, and that is also a very big part of all of this. So that's one element of it. But when I think about the NFL and what they think about all of this, I actually think they're not fans of this. I think they actually liked Lloyd Howell, because Lloyd Howell is a businessman. DeMaurice Smith was somebody who really clashed with the NFL. Lloyd Howell is somebody who is looking to make deals. When Roger Goodell initially brought up the idea of an 18th game, Lloyd Howell was asked about it. If you remember, his initial answer was, everybody loves more football. That's great. And Roger Goodell was like, yes, this is amazing, right? DeMaurice Smith would have been like, no way, no chance. We're going to have to negotiate and get this and this and that and this. Lloyd Howell's answer was like, great, let's make a deal. So I think the NFL actually liked the idea of having Lloyd Howell. And there were reports out there from the Washington Post about a year ago that in the near future, Lloyd Howell is going to start negotiating with Roger Goodell about adding an 18th game over here during this current CBA. They would have adjusted the current CBA or ripped up the current CBA or whatever it is to try to get it in right now. So I think the NFL actually liked the old executive director in Lloyd Howell, because that element of it, because he wanted to make deals, and also the element of he hid the collusion case. I know the NFL won, but the evidence that was in there was kind of damning. The fact that he agreed to this For whatever reason, there are many different theories out there as to why it was. One of it was because there's a rumor out there that because that was DeMaurice Smith's thing, I don't want to bring him into all of this. I'm the new executive director. There's an entire thing about legal fees. There's an entire thing about JC Tretter and what he said about Russell Wilson. And if players see that, there's a lot of rumors as to why it was hidden. But I think the NFL actually liked the Lloyd Howell group because they felt like they could take advantage of making deals and getting what they want. And as a result, owners would be obviously very, very happy. So now that there's a reset over here, we'll see who they choose. But I think deep down, Roger Goodell actually liked the idea of working with Lloyd Howell. Now here we are about it.
Do you imagine that there's going to be more findings that come out from all this? Pablo Torre has done an excellent job, digging through a lot of these things, but I imagine there's going to be more reports that come out of this. Do you imagine there's going to be anything else of this level? And if so, is there anything else that can really happen at this point other than just kind of a bad smudge for the NFLPA and for Howell, who I guess is gone now, so it doesn't super matter for him. But this seems like it's just not going to get cleaner. It's going to get messier.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine there is, and like you said, we did an episode 2 weeks ago when Pablo's initially reporting came out. We did a video on that, put his video in the description so everyone could go check out his fabulous work. And I think there's going to be more of here because as I've realized, just covering the NFL, when things get bad, everyone starts talking. So everyone is talking now. So now it's much easier to report because you'll be able to gather information from a number of different people and try to piece together what's true and what's not. So there will be more. The question really becomes how relevant is it anymore because those guys are now out the door. Lloyd Howell does not matter anymore. JC Tretter does not matter anymore. All the findings are just going to show how dysfunctional it's been there for the last couple of years. But there's a reason why many agents straight up tell me the NFLPA is a joke. There's a reason why they say from all the sports, it's by far the worst one. Just to be clear, so everyone understands that the NFL does not have fully guaranteed contracts. It's pretty common in basketball. It's pretty common in baseball. Just to be clear, those CBAs don't say every contract must be guaranteed. It's just that's the way the negotiations eventually went and it became common in those sports. The NFL has never been able to catch up. And part of it also does go back to the union. So it's a very difficult job. I'll say it again. You have so many players there who are part of the rank and file, and they all have different philosophies about what they care about. It's not like the NBA, which is 12 players on a roster, and these guys are minimum salaries like $5 million or whatever it is. The shelf life of an NFL player is not long. It's a very difficult job to have. But the stuff that was coming out about Lloyd Howell, the part-time role of an equity with a private equity thing is
It's
insane.
absolutely insane.
It's crazy, and I really hope NFL fans understand how wild that is. I mean, it's crazy. It truly is crazy, and that coming out and now causing more of an uproar surprised me because that should have been the end. That he should have resigned that day when that became public, and it was already known within the NFLPA. And for some reason, they were okay with it. I don't get it. I do not get it. But here we are. They're going to reset, and they got to get this right because if they don't, this could be quite a serious thing here in the coming years once it's time to get real with negotiations.
I'm glad you mentioned that because obviously, like people, you see the word strip club, they see these things that kind of flash off the paper, and like obviously the level of stupidity that comes along with trying to think that you could expense that and that it would never get flagged is absolutely insane considering we've had jobs where you try to write expense reports and it bounces back because you just clicked one thing wrong. Like that's one thing. But the idea that he didn't step down after the entire thing of, hey, this might be a conflict of interest between the fact that you're representing the players and also working for people that are trying to buy, like, it just didn't make sense to me how that wasn't the death blow right then and there.
We talk about the expense report and how the stated purpose of it was player engagement event to support and grow our union. I mean, the entire thing is just it's crazy and it's unfortunate because these players, they obviously, it's a very physical sport. There's a lot that's going on, and this is who's running your it's not cool for them, right? It's unfortunate. And I just hope they get it right because there are a lot of agents out there who obviously know many people in the PA for a long time, and they've said there's weird stuff going on over there. A lot of people were upset with how they even chose Lloyd Howell in the first place, which was such a secretive process, which made no sense. And eventually one day it was a Zoom event. Hey, this is our new guys. Where did this guy come from? So it's not a good look at all. And these players all deserve better because the way the NFL and the owners and the way contracts work and all of it, it's unfortunate, especially for the amount of physicalness that the sport is. So we'll see what happens here. There's going to be somebody new here on an interim basis, and I just hope they get it right and get somebody who's actually serious about it. Because the one thing I didn't say yet, Ben, this job pays you close to $4 million a year. Like you get paid good money for this thing, and if you're not taking it seriously, it's unfortunate for all the players in the league.
Well, we've talked a whole lot about this, and there's been a whole lot of negativity with the PA. But while we were gone, there was a lot of good stuff that did happen for players. We talked about guys that were potentially going to hold out when we were on Check the Mic. One of the which that we talked a lot about was TJ Watt. TJ Watt's going to be showing up because he has signed a nice brand new 3-year, $123 million deal, $108 million guaranteed. Obviously not the full thing, but pretty damn close to it. You know, you're getting there within 15 million. Other big extensions took place. Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, George Karlaftis. A lot of fun stuff happening with that. A lot of reasons why players should be excited for their contracts upcoming. We're going to talk about guys that are still going to be getting paid here soon, likely Micah Parsons, Aiden Hutchinson, but just kind of focusing in on TJ Watt's deal. What does this mean for the Steelers? What does it mean for their upcoming 1-year shelf life and for the 3 years in which this deal is going to be tacked on to his current contract?
All right, so we just spoke about fully guaranteed deals in the NFL. This is a very, very impressive contract for TJ Watt, who is in his 30s. There was talk about, oh, is he starting to, see a small, slight, tick down over here? Is it worth paying him? He got $108 million fully guaranteed. The first 3 years of this contract, it's a 3-year extension on top of the 1 year he had left. The first 3 years are fully guaranteed no matter what. $108 million, no matter what, will be going to TJ Watt. It's not a rolling guarantee. It's not an injury guarantee. It's not a practical guarantee. The Steelers said, you are getting that money year 1, year 2, year 3. You're going to be on the roster. No chance of cutting you no matter what. It's a very impressive contract for somebody who's getting his 3rd contract in the NFL. And it's, again, $41 million per year in new money. There's no fake year on the back end to make the average look higher, which we sometimes see in the NFL. This is a true commitment by the Pittsburgh Steelers to the face of the franchise that they have over there in TJ Watt. So a very impressive contract. He was waiting for it all offseason. They were negotiating it basically all offseason long. There were a lot of holdups. As we mentioned before we left here for the mini break, there he had to break the Myles Garrett number, but the structure also mattered. And we mentioned this the last time he got an extension, he broke precedent for the Steelers because the Steelers for a very long time, they only guarantee money after year 1 if you're a quarterback. TJ Watt got that the last time. He got it again over here. Not only did he get it again, he also got it in year 3, getting fully guaranteed money. So an outstanding contract for him, especially considering where he is in his career. And of course, we've seen all the moves the Steelers have made this offseason. They're making a very big push to try to make noise here in 2025, while also being set up in 2026 and beyond with some draft picks. But we've seen what they've done with the DK Metcalf trade, Aaron Rodgers signing, Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, and now this contract. They are really pushing to have a big year this year, make the playoffs, win playoff games, and of course, see some success over here in 2025. As for the rest of the pass rush market and how this affects everything, there's still 3 big pass rushes over here that we're kind of waiting for. There's 2 of the younger guys who are getting their first bite at the apple, which is Aiden Hutchinson and Micah Parsons. There has been ongoing negotiations with both of those players. I would anticipate right now that at some point before the season starts, both those contracts will get done. And once they do get done, it will be north of $40 million per year. And I would say Micah Parsons' deal has a better shot of going to 42, 43, even $44 million per year because of where he is in his age compared to the Myles Garrett and the TJ Watt. It's his first bite of the apple. He's younger. He's at the start of his prime. That would make sense. Same thing for Aiden Hutchinson, who, Detroit does not have to do it this year. He still has 2 more years left on his contract, but they are trying to be proactive over here and reward one of their top players who is fully recovered from that significant injury last year. That brings us to the last veteran when it comes to the big pass rushers, and that is Trey Hendrickson. And Trey has every argument to ask for the same exact contract that Myles Garrett got, the same exact contract that TJ Watt got. He's actually a little bit younger than TJ Watt, and in fact, has been producing better than TJ Watt over here over the last couple of years. Whether you look at the analytical numbers, the raw numbers, whatever it is. He's not asking for $41 million per year. Even if the market continues to go up, in Cincinnati should be getting scared over here that he's going to ask for more money. He's been asking for a multi-year deal, and he's been asking for somewhere in that mid-30s range, which is what a guy like Max Crosby got, who is also on that third contract. So to this point, the Bengals have not been willing to go there. They've been willing to do these adjustments of the 1 year and try to do those type of things, do a 1 year extension. There have been talks. I have not gotten the sense that it's anywhere close as of this recording right now here on Sunday night, but it is something we will continue to monitor over here. And if it's not considered close in Trey's mind, would not surprise me at all. He does not report to training camp. Would not surprise me at all if he does not do anything at all. And when he says he's not going to play for $16 million this year, believe me, he's being very, very serious about that. We had one more extension when it comes to pass rusher that happened on Sunday. George Karlaftis, $22 million per year on a new extension. A very team-friendly deal for a player who is ascending over here. This is, again, they did not have to do this now. They could have waited a year, but they believe in George Karlaftis and where he is heading over here. So now he's under contract for the next 6 years. When you combine all the salaries together, that actually comes out to $17 million per year on average, which is a very, very team-friendly deal over here for a player who's only been getting better and better. Regular season, postseason, former first-round pick. He has been great for them. And you hear about the passers market, and right, hit $45 million per year here very soon. The Chiefs are getting him on a very, very team-friendly deal. That's the second extension they've done over here in the last couple of a week with Trey Smith, George Karlaftis. Trent McDuffie will be a little bit more difficult. He's also extension eligible. Would not surprise me if they don't figure it out, but they are definitely talking over there. But we know where the quarterback market is right now with $30.1 million per year. Not so simple to get that deal done, but we will be keeping a close eye on it.
Well, during the hiatus, one of the people that we spoke to, we're not going to give the name away yet, was and is in the Chiefs front office. So a little bit of a hint there, but also had a lot to do with those deals that have taken place. Let's go ahead and tell the people who we are going to have on the show tomorrow, because it is a pretty special guest here, Ari.
I'm excited about this one. I mean, I've been trying to get him on for a number of months now. Became an offensive coordinator this offseason. We are going to be joined tomorrow on our Tuesday NFL Spotlight special guest. We will be having Jacksonville Jaguars offensive coordinator Grant Yudinsky. There we go. If you're watching on YouTube, the graphic is up right now. And this is a 29-year-old first-time offensive coordinator who, get this, interviewed with 5 different teams this offseason for their offensive coordinator position. That included Tampa Bay and Seattle and Houston, New England, and of course, Jacksonville. Got hired by Liam Cohen. And the reason why he is so unique and why I wanted to speak to him is he has not been around the NFL for that long. Joined the NFL around 2020 with the Carolina Panthers, joining Matt Rule there because he was with Matt Rule at Baylor. You'll hear the full story tomorrow. The reason I was fascinated by him is because usually whenever you have an offensive coordinator hire, especially somebody who so many teams want to speak about, usually it's a quarterback's coach, it's a position coach somewhere. He was the assistant quarterback's coach with the Minnesota Vikings last year and also had the assistant offensive coordinator title. He was in Minnesota for 3 years with Kevin O'Connell. Each year got a promotion, and he is known around the NFL as somebody who is super, super bright, an ascending coach in the NFL, and somebody who, I don't want to jump too far, but would not surprise me if one day becomes a head coach and becomes one of the youngest head coaches in NFL history. Just a super bright guy, and we talk about his entire journey from start to finish, and you'll be surprised by some of the stuff that he had to go through to get to where he is today. It's a super inspiring story, and we really enjoy talking to him.
And unless you got anything else, Ari, I think we are good to go ahead and take everyone home.
Yep, it is great to be back here on NFL Spotlight. Moving forward, we're back here every single day, Monday to Friday, talking NFL. Every single Tuesday, we will have a special Spotlight guest, player, coach, executive, whoever it is who deserves more recognition. But we're back. Football season is here. Like I said, we have a preseason game coming up in 10 days from now, July 31, the Hall of Fame game, Lions and Chargers. Training camp will be in full force this week. All the podium sessions with coaches and quarterbacks and everybody will be here. We're going to have a lot more extensions coming up. It's going to be rapid fire here moving forward. That quiet part of the offseason, which was not really quiet this year, if we're being honest, it is officially over. We're going to have news flying left and right. All 32 teams are here. So we will see everybody back here tomorrow when we will have our special Spotlight guest of the week, Jacksonville Jaguars offensive coordinator, Grant Udinski. We will see you then.